you will remember that there were men, women, children who lived there, who loved this Lorraine landscape, who plowed its heavy, meager soil. There were men here who lived at peace, and the mortal remains of their ancestors are now mingled with those of dead soldiers. All are now protected by the ossuary where the soul of battlefield still quivers and where burns the eternal flame of devotion. Gérard Canini. We're going to look now at the village of Fleury, which is a village quite close to Verdun, and we're close right now to the absolute limit of the German advance, which they reached in June of 1916. Can you pan around so we can see the village of Fleury? Now, if you're thinking that doesn't look much like a village in the traditional sense, you're absolutely right. Fleury was absolutely blasted off the face of the earth, the physical village. There are 8 such villages in the Verdun area that no longer exist as villages, but still actually exist on the map and exist as an homage. Fleury still has a mayor, and every year they have a commemoration, and maybe a dozen or 2 dozen people turn up, and the mayor comes, and it will continue to have a mayor, well, probably forever, as far as I can imagine. It's hard to overstate the importance of Fleury in the Battle of Verdun, though, even though it was a village of only 400 or 500 people. It began being bombed and bombarded from the very beginning of the Battle of Verdun, and by the beginning of May, it was completely destroyed. I mean, we're not too far from Douaumont, which, of course, the Germans took in February. In June, when the Germans launched another couple of offensives, they were towards Fleury and Fort Souville, and Fort Souville was the last of the real major forts between them and Verdun, which they never managed to take. And Fleury, even though it had been destroyed, is a strategic point. So this was a big, big scene of fighting. Actually, it changed hands 16 times during the summer. But in June, when the Germans launched new offensives at the beginning of the month and towards the end of the month, they were very, very close to breaking through, actually, which we've talked about in our regular episodes. However, at the same time, Konrad von Hotzendorf, the Austro-Hungarian army chief of staff, had launched his own offensive into Italy, and as that was slowly failing, General Brusilov's offensive, the Russian offensive, was hitting Austria in the back door. So Konrad appealed to German chief of staff Erich von Falkenhayn for help, and von Falkenhayn took 3 divisions from Verdun and sent them over to help out the Austrians. And this could have actually been, may well have been, the difference between defeat and victory at the Battle of Verdun, because many of the people fighting at Fleury and Souville said their defenses were so thin, if the Germans had had a few dozen more men, that would have been it, let alone 3 more divisions. Now, also around Fleury and Fort Souville, Green Cross gas made its appearance, and this was yet another new danger, the phosgene gas, which was the deadliest of the poison gases used during the First World War. People think more of the horrors of mustard gas, but phosgene gas was actually responsible for 75% of all the gas casualties of the First World War. So by August, the Germans had actually been pushed out for good from Fleury, and in October and in November, Fleury, what's left of this, what was left, and these trees were not there. There was nothing there. What's left of this became a jumping off spot for the French during their counteroffensives to retake Fort Douaumont and retake Fort Vaux. So incredibly strategic place throughout the year 1916, and nothing left today except commemorative plaques and a mayor. And we're going to take a walk around now, and I'm going to show you something that it's going to seem cool, but again, it's not cool because nothing about this place being blasted out of existence is cool, but it will be very interesting. So follow along with me. In the space of a few seconds, I see in the south corner the ruins of Fleury, still occupied by the French, gigantic clouds of black smoke and flamethrowers in action. I immediately see fanatic French groups, many screaming, wavering, and burning in place. They fire blindly around them, some of them running like living torches, and die. You can see who lived here And what they did, wine grower. This is his house. This is where the wine grower lived. Baker. Here's the bakery. Get bread here. Farm. Okay, we had a little farm going back here. Just completely blasted out of existence. There's a really strange atmosphere here, something you're not used to. Another farm there. It's another bakery. Another farm. I'm not certain if it's 400 or 500 people that were living here in 1914 when the war began. There were still people being buried here in the 80s. I assume, although I could be wrong, that it was people that might have lived here when they were young. And here's something interesting. Can you get a shot of that? If you're wondering what this carving is and this plaque is, it's something fairly unique. In 2013, a tree that was here fell over in a storm, and there were people here that came by, and they found 26 bodies. They found a bunch of bones. Turned out to be 26 bodies underneath. Now, there had been a farm here 100 years ago, and the basement was being used as hospital space. So this is from that. Now, what they've done is they've taken part of that tree and recarved it. But notice this is untreated wood. So eventually this is not going to exist. It's going to return to nature, just like those bodies, which were reburied in Douaumont. Now they've only identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They only identified 7 of the bodies. So 19 of those bodies still remain unidentified. But that just goes to show, under any of these trees could be another 26 bodies, could be another 50 bodies, could be another 100 bodies. This is Fleury. This is what's left. That. If you'd like to see our episode from Fort Douaumont, which is just a few kilometers away from Fleury, you can click right here for that. Please consider supporting us on Patreon so we can do more and more of these awesome field trip episodes. And like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.